Okay, we are recording. Okay, yes, hello everyone. This is the Mgtow Cowboy. Greetings and salutations. I just happened to catch an oldie but goodie. A gentleman by the name of Todd. Is it Johnsenn? Todd?
You can say it like that, yes.
Yeah, Todd Johnsenn. You guys may remember his brother, who's basically like a doppelganger. I think his name he went by Viking Traveler. I happened to catch him on the internet, and I was able to converse with him and cajole him, coerce him. I was able to convince him to do an impromptu interview. So I'm doing that right now. I'm going to cede the floor to Todd right now, and now I'm putting Todd on camera so you can see him. Although he's only going to be on camera for the first 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to rotate the camera so that the ball microphone is facing me. Okay, so Todd, you're being filmed right now. Can you please give us like a 2 or 3 minute introduction of yourself, your site, who, what, when,
Yes.
where you're from? Go ahead.
All right. My name's Todd. I'm from the Upper Heartland of the USA, and currently I'm located in Eastern Europe in Russia. I've also lived in Estonia and Argentina, and my focus on a vocational level is in biotechnology. I'm currently a postgraduate student in biotechnology, and I also day trade in the financial markets. I'm a qualitative day trader. I really like learning about the world, understanding why things are. There's many things, I think, in the current paradigm that we often hear about, and the mainstream presents its narrative. Sometimes it's true, sometimes not. And so my main goal at this point is really trying to look at things for what they are, not being biased, and really being open-minded, authentically open-minded at seeing why things are the way they are.
Okay, that's a very good start. Can we talk a little bit? So at this point, I want to start asking you some questions. So I'm a hardcore Mgtow. I'm like a level 1 Mgtow. I've been Mgtow for many years. Can you tell us your familiarity with the Mgtow community or the Red Pill community?
Yes, I've been familiar with Mgtow for at least 4 or 5 years now. Although I initially was a little skeptical about certain things, just because at the time I wanted to believe that it was possible for an individual, for a guy to be able to find a wife, get married, things like this, that it was still possible despite the landmine situation that most guys are in. I over time became more and more aware of the realities that are facing us, and more often than not, it was through my own personal experiences of having unfavorable circumstances, and time after time I would see certain patterns play out. And so it became inevitable that I had to be honest to myself and to admit that while I would like to subscribe more to a completely traditional worldview, which would involve marriage, children, things like this, given the current situation of the world, it was impossible to have this belief system while seeing things play out that were completely contrary to a traditional worldview.
Okay. So again, I do apologize. This interview was not in any way scripted. I was not able to contact you prior to this. I remember in the past I had contacted you or tried to set something up, but you're busy living your life. I was busy living mine, of course. I want to have somewhat of a Mgtow type interview, and please feel free to include maybe some stories from your personal life, also, again, your brother's life. First, you know what? Let me preface all this by asking, where is your brother? Your brother, he used to have a channel. It became kind of popular. What was it? Viking Traveler. Is that correct?
Yes, and he changed it to an investment focused channel, I believe, something like Socrates Investments, I believe. Socrates, don't remember even the exact.
Oh, okay.
Title.
Okay, so he is it fair to say that he abandoned Mgtow and now he's shilling for money?
Not exactly. What occurred is that he really, I don't really think he is a very political person to begin with. And I know Mgtow isn't completely political; it's more of a philosophy. But he hasn't really been the kind of social advocate or a person really that interested in social affairs, let's say. So I don't really believe it was something that he was like that into, even though he was doing. It really wasn't his main interest.
Okay, that's fine. Let's go back, and I have some like preliminary questions for you. Okay, so your name is Todd, and I think sorry, is your last name is it Jensen or Johnsenn?
It's Johnsenn. Technically, it's said as Johnsenn because the derivative is if you look at the ending, it's Scandinavian. But of course, for many people who they're familiar with the Anglo form, which is Johnsson.
Sure.
But if it's converted over to like Swedish or Estonian, etc., generally the J is said more as yes sound.
So Johansson.
Yeah, Janssen is generally how it could be. Yes.
Very good. Okay, cool. Yeah, German was my minor at university. So yeah, right. No, really? I have a little familiarity. Yeah. Minor in German, major in Spanish.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, I became a trucker, so that's I should have majored in nursing. That's what I tell people. Yeah. Okay. So you and your brother, you were born in Chicago. Is that correct?
Originally, yes.
Okay, and then at some point, the two of you had moved to what was it? The Upper Midwest? Is it Minnesota?
Yeah. Yes, northwestern Minnesota.
Oh, let's see, northwestern Minnesota, like Duluth, St. Cloud.
That's on the other side, closer to St. Cloud's, further central, closer to Fergus Falls and Moorhead. That area on the western end, you have Fargo, North Dakota,
right,
and then on the other side you have Moorhead, Minnesota, and then you go down a little further south and to the east, Fergus Falls, and just a little further east is where we were based out of.
What was the name of the town that you grew up in?
Alexandria.
Alexandria. Okay, I'm sorry, it doesn't ring a bell. Have you ever heard of
small town?
Yeah, no, that's fine. You know how it is. Have you ever heard of New Ulm?
Yes.
Okay.
It wasn't too far away. It was pretty close, actually.
I've done some partying there. Again, when I was living in South Dakota, I had befriended some gentlemen. Some of them were from that place, and then we would eventually, once in a while, we would go over there and family, friends, barbecue. But yeah, I remember in the town there was a big statue called Herman. Was it Herman the German? Have you ever been there?
I've heard of it before. I don't.
It's just some like.
Seeing it, but I've heard of.
It's like a 40-foot statue of like some guy, and I don't know. It's like their claim to fame. Okay, so, you're not married, right?
Correct.
Okay, you have no children, I'm assuming.
Yeah. As you can see, no.
Right.
No rings.
Right.
No children. It was something I was open to, but due to just the way things have played out, and even surprisingly, even here in Russia, it hasn't really been. Of course, if we're comparing dating and things like this, if someone's interested in maybe some casual dating, they can definitely get girls that are better looking than what you'd get generally in America or Canada. But as far as the feminism and things like this, I would say that there's actually a pretty significant amount of feminism, at least in the big cities here in Russia.
Yeah.
It just it's more, we could say, baked into the cake. It's not as ostentatious. And so I think what happens with many guys is that they think that they're getting a traditional Tradcon Svelana, or that's what they're meeting. Polina, Svelana, typical Russian names. But instead what's happening is that it's a little more, like I said, it's more baked into the cake. And so I think it's a little more subversive and clever how feminism is pushed here. And as a result, it may not come off initially as feminist if you see the way that the females here carry themselves and so forth. But you start talking to them, getting to know them, things like this, and then you start realizing that there certainly is a good deal of feminism.
Yes, no. Unfortunately, I agree. Before we take a deep dive into that, I want to finish up with you and sort of your background. I'm assuming you're university set. You went to college.
Yes, and I'm completing a postgraduate degree now in biotechnology.
Okay, can you speak about that for a second? Where did you attain your undergrad?
Well, I studied at Minnesota State University, like local university.
And where is that?
Minnesota State University is located in Mgtow.
Okay. I would drive past there.
Right. It's, I guess, maybe the flagship of the Minnesota State system. And so I went there, and I actually I wanted to continue on with doing further studies back a few years ago, but I had to take a break to do some work, make some money.
No, I understand.
And I know for many people in the Mgtow community, they're going to throw out the question, why go to the university? Because I know for many people it's very questionable about whether or not it's really of utility.
No, it is. It done right. Of course it is. Ask any doctor. Ask any lawyer. Come on.
Yes.
Okay, so what was your major in your undergrad? What was your major?
My major was information sciences and also economics. And it was a little bit.
I'm sorry. You had a double major. You double majored?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Very good. Okay, then you. How many? Never mind. That's an obscure question. I was going to ask how many credits it takes to get a double major. It doesn't matter. Okay, you double majored.
Probably like 150 or 160.
I was going to say it's typically a little bit more. I had like 130 to get to just major in one. But okay, that's good. That's great for you. Okay, so and then you took a couple years off to work and so forth, and you're currently finishing up. I'm assuming a master's.
Yes. I have the option to do a PhD if I would like to, and I'm not sure because the situation is constantly changing, and in Russia and the other.
I was going to say, didn't Russia just invade the Ukraine? What if your university gets bombed tomorrow?
It's very unlikely because Russia is one of the most. Oh, okay, yeah. Of course.
Todd, I could tell that about you and your brother. You guys have a very dry. Scandinavian humor. Okay.
Okay. And I was about to say though, because there are people. It was in the mainstream media that Ukraine was saying how they were going to have nukes ready for to throw back at Russia.
Yeah.
Short time. That's why I wasn't sure.
That's all bullshit. The real truth is, if you look into this, as unpolitically incorrect as this sounds, Russia actually does have the legal basis for doing what they're doing. That's why the United States is not invading. I'm not going to go in too much detail, but frankly, because I don't understand in detail. But these these little break off states that say they all of a sudden declare independence, and then Russia, all of a sudden recognizes their sovereignty. They actually have a right to do this. There's a legal process where these states can break off, and they're doing that, and that's exactly what's happening right now.
Right, and it was historic relationships that the Ukraine had with Russia.
There are treaties going back hundreds and hundreds of years. You
know the story with even Crimea, for example, is that that was recognized for many years as part of the Russian state, Russian Empire, and then Soviet.
Yeah.
And it was actually in good faith. It was some kind of weird, I don't quite understand why he did it now, but Nikita Khrushchev, the premier of the former Soviet Union, as a sign of good faith or something like this, he signed over Crimea to the Ukrainian SSR, and it was basically like the same country as Russia. I mean, they were totally connected, so it wasn't really a big deal at the time. But they even had military. Russia could have military personnel in Crimea even after it was supposedly recognized as part of Ukraine. That's why a lot of people think that the military came in, invaded, but the Russians had military there all along.
Right. Not to mention, almost 90% of the population at the time was ethnically Russian. So, No, I see. See, the problem is you got to understand. The average American is so brain dead. As long as like the beer is cold and the Brewers are playing a ball game in Milwaukee, no one cares. So, But of course, I'm not going to get into a long diatribe about the Russian Empire. But yeah, there was a long period of Russian expansion. There were tons of treaties, and that's their backyard. The way I see it is America really has no business there. But you know how America is. We like to just stick our dick in everything. We just can't help ourselves.
Think about what happened with Cuban Missile Crisis, for instance, when the missiles were going to be put onto the Cuban mainland, and the U.S. pushed back on that so hard that eventually the former Soviet Union relented. The situation with Ukraine would even be more extreme than, say, Mexico having a complete arsenal on their border facing the U.S. It would be more extreme than even that, because Ukraine had a historical basis of being part of the Russian Empire, and like same people, Ukrainians speak. They have their own language, Ukrainian, but it's like Russian basically. It's very similar.
Yes.
All Ukrainians can speak.
Random aside, I was just fired. I just lost my job. I was just fired by some Ukrainians. Yes, there was a. So I live I live in a second ring suburb of Chicago now, and I'm a trucker. I was I'm not going to say their exact name. They're out of Melrose Park.
Don't. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, they're out of Melrose Park. They got me trucking. They were very nice. The women are very beautiful, of course.
Yeah.
And I make one joke about Ukrainians, Russians, they're the same people. Whoa, don't say that because they get upset.
Wow. Yes. And the crazy thing is that they were so connected with Russia for so many years, and they had good ties with him until the Euromaidan played out, and at that point it was complete mayhem as far as the relationship with both countries was concerned, and also the kind of decadent, degenerate, supposedly I don't even think they're actually Western values, but I guess the mainstream recognizes them as Western. So I'll just say mainstream for people who don't understand Greco-Roman values and things like this. But the values that have been introduced into Ukraine now for quite a long time have really gone against traditional Slavic values. And I would almost go as far to say that at least a generation, maybe two generations of Ukrainians now have been morally destroyed. I think that what is now millennials, that generation is a forgotten lost cause in Ukraine, and maybe even Gen Z. Now, what comes after that, I think, will have more of a traditional Slavic value system instilled in them, thank goodness. But I think that anyone that thinks, oh, now I can go into Ukraine and get my traditional Svetlana, it's like, you may have to wait a few years, because what I've seen, I had encountered a couple Ukrainians actually when I was stateside. And one of the girls that I had met, she eventually married a Dutch guy.
Okay.
But I mean, she was very feminist. She studied women and gender studies. And she was, I mean, she was a very a nice looking girl, attractive and everything. But on the inside, not so much. I think so. It was interesting seeing when I met her and learned about her. It was actually at my university. And then actually going into a Slavic society, I was like, wow, things are definitely different because, of course, usually the most westernized, most liberal people will make their way over to the Western world. It's not to say that there aren't people pursuing just money or financial gain or something like this, but a lot of the people that are moving to the Western world from, say, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, are going to be the most westernized and the most liberal.
Sure. Let me ask you this: how old are you? 24, 26, 28?
I'm in my late 20s actually. And that's why it's kind of weird. As far as with university and so forth, I had to take a significant break. So
No.
I still have a little left in my 20s, but
no. Don't feel bad.
not so much.
I didn't graduate university till I was 28 years old. It took me basically
Really?
It took me 9 years to get a bachelor's degree. I mean, of course, I did it. I purposely did it that way. I could have graduated 2 or 3 years earlier, but I refused to take student loans. I graduated with no debt, which is increasing. That's increasingly rare. Yeah, no. Imagine I've worked at McDonald's, Subway, Burger King, Wendy's. Well, anyway, the point. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I have to applaud you that you were smart enough to do that because many people are not, especially at a younger age. So the fact that you had the foresight to do that, I really applaud you on.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank you. I applaud myself. Imagine the people. There are people in their 30s, there are people in their 40s who still are paying off college debt because they loaded up on tens and tens of thousands of dollars of debt. Next thing you know, they just finished paying it off when they're 50. I don't want to be that person.
And you think about how much it set someone back. I think about people that instead could have diverted that money into, say,
real
enterprise
estate. Enterprise, right? Yeah. You got it. And
it was interesting too, even seeing the evolution of Warren, Vincent Mgtow.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. If we could segue a little bit more towards Mgtow, but go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah, well, he was actually someone who I had followed for some time, not too long. It wasn't unfortunately until the end of his life, and I didn't really get to know him that well. I mean, we had exchanged a couple messages, but I know he had put a lot of his money into some of the digital cryptocurrencies.
Sure.
Mostly Bitcoin, I think.
Sure.
And it was at a point where it was quite low, so he ended up self-establishing himself as a multimillionaire. Unfortunately, he didn't
millions.
really get to
millions and millions of dollars. He made millions. Yeah. He actually made a. I'm sorry to toot my own horn. He made a shout out. He made a shout out video to me, or he made his intro to a certain video was a response video to me, which is totally awesome. I can.
That's awesome.
Yeah, whatever. Basically. I'm sorry.
One of the things I couldn't figure out though is why one of the recipients of who had received some money from him didn't carry on his legacy of his YouTube channel.
Let's not. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know some people got some money from him. I know a couple off the top of my head. That's none of my business. I don't know.
Okay.
But
I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Yeah, no, I don't know. I really don't know. What I will say is, he, I finally started listening to him, and then I took a dive and I did some investing in whatever. I ended up doing, what is it called? You buy low, sell high, swing trading, buy the dip, all this.
Yes.
I started learning all these basics. I made like I think I made like over $11,000 in just under 40 days.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it something that you're interested in continuing?
No.
Or...
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the future. No, now what I want to do. So I took all the money out. So I'm gonna have to pay taxes on that.
Yeah.
My next major financial goal is to buy like a multi-unit investment property. Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. Do you have any city or place in mind where you think
absolutely.
You'll do that?
Yeah, I talk about it all the time. I actually wanted to start talking to you about that. So again, I live in Chicago. Chicago has been overrun with like socialists, communists, these evil people raising my taxes, just raising the taxes. And pretty much anywhere in the South. My top 2 or 3 picks would be like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Arizona, maybe. There's a lot of places. I mean, but yeah, I think I want to stay in the States. Maybe if I were to ever expat or like become a real huge